Good morning, Wesley. That is Wesley.
Good morning, friends. How are we doing today? That's fair. Well, it's Saturday morning. I am about to take my son to work. So please remember at some point today to stretch a little bit, drink some water, take your meds that applies to you, eat something if you can. And I hope you remember that you are loved, you matter. I'm so glad you're here with me. And I hope that you have an awesome day. Well, over the last few months, there have been some new friends that have joined us, and thank you so much. You are welcome here, and I'm glad that you're here. And I thought that I would reintroduce myself, if you will. My real name is Sam, but I go by Eric in online spaces, and I'm strongly considering changing my pen name to that, and actually one day legally changing it, maybe if I like it enough. Anyway, I am a 42-year-old autistic adult who lives with depression, ADHD, and various chronic illnesses, and that's a lot of what I talk about. I talk about life with chronic illness, life with ADHD, life as an autistic adult. I talk about creativity, because that's another very important thing to me, and whatever else it is that I like doing. I like drinking tea. It's a big thing for me. So if that's what you're into, stick around. Glad you're here. Love you guys. Usually when I tell people that I have a chronic illness, or that I have mental health struggles, or that I'm autistic or whatever, well, there's always the uncomfortable silence, right? That happens sometimes. They don't know what to say, or they'll say, well, but you don't look sick, you don't look autistic, you look great, you look happy, you seem so outgoing, and I can never tell if it's gaslighting, if it's an attempt to make me feel better, if it's an attempt to be encouraging, or are they just uncomfortable, so they're word vomiting, which I totally get that. But I will say, telling an autistic person that they don't look autistic, or telling a depressed person that they don't look depressed, or telling a chronically ill person, but you look great, actually, it depends on the person. It depends on the person. I personally don't care for it. It feels like someone's trying to invalidate what I'm trying to tell them. So let's start with the autism diagnosis. So all my life, I knew something was off, especially when I was like 17, 18. I started really noticing how difficult it was to talk to people, and how much I use lines from books and movies. I use quotes as a way to communicate. In 2017, I experienced a serious health crisis. I was in and out of hospitals. Doctors are trying to figure out what was wrong with me. I'll get more into that later. But my mental health came up. I started talking about stress, depression, things like that. I started seeing a therapist, and then my wife comes home one day and she said, babe, I think you might be autistic. And she started listing the reasons why. So I talked to my therapist about it, and I got tested, and sure enough, turned out I am autistic. I am considered high functioning, which I think is a dumb label, but it basically means my autism does not affect the neurotypicals around me for the most part. I'm able to mask, I'm able to hide that part of me pretty well, to the point where that's why most people say, but you don't seem autistic. Yeah, because I hurt myself to make you happy. Anyway, so that is the autism diagnosis story. I should also add that my ability to articulate words as I share some of these things with my diagnoses stories, I'm going to be awkward. These are emotional topics for me, and while I've gotten pretty used to talking about them, going back through the origin stories is kind of like reliving it for me mentally. So just grace in advance being asked for in case I stumble over words, if I say the wrong thing, if I say something stupid. That's why. You'd think I'd have a script for this, but I don't quite yet. Yes. Okay, a weird thing about me, I love baby food, like the fruit squeezies for babies. I don't know why, but these things are the best, and my wife knows that, and so she picks them up for me. All right. So, my lupus diagnosis. I don't know why I'm waving a sandwich in your face. So, the same health crisis that started in 2017 ultimately led to a 4-day stay in the hospital because I almost died in the ER because my blood pressure dropped so low that like half my heart stopped beating, the upper chambers or whatever. Anyway, so during that observation time, they started running tests for everything because up to that point, it was just, oh, you have high blood pressure. Let's work on that. There was something about my antibodies in the blood. And so that got me a referral to a rheumatologist. And that is how I ended up with my lupus diagnosis received in thyroid. What is that called? Hashimoto's diagnosis. And I also have sleep apnea. It took years to figure it out because lupus is a really hard disease to diagnose because it can mimic so many other things, so many other illnesses, but basically my body is constantly in some state of self-destruct mode. The antibodies that are supposed to be protecting my body from invaders is attacking healthy organs, healthy tissues, blood vessels, and things like that. Cause a lot of pain, tired a lot, and whatever organ system is being played with that day can also impact how I feel. I have arthritis in my lower back. Those are my chronic illness situation. That's what I'm dealing with when I'm talking about going to appointments. It's appointments to deal with those things. And I think that's all I have to say about that. Let me know if you have questions. It's easier if I know what questions you have. Otherwise, I could talk about this all day. And I feel like I've already talked about it long enough. And I want to eat my food and watch YouTube. I'll eat 2 big of a bite. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh, it is so good.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is so good. Oh my
Let me
gosh.
see the inside. It's cooked.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. It's a gluten-free raspberry donut. But mine's without filling because I don't want the filling. So that's my basically the mental and physical health story. That also got diagnoses for depression, for ADHD, for anxiety, arthritis, some other random health things. But in general, that's kind of what I'm dealing with. And so that's a big part of the content I create is sharing my story of my life as an adult with dealing with these things. And I try to show, yes, I try to talk not practically, but I try to talk honestly about how difficult it can be. But I also hopefully am showing positive things as well. My love of creativity, writing, art, and I'll probably talk about my creativity journey next time and what I'm doing with my life or whatever. The cat bus is such a weird thing. It always kind of weirds me out. I had planned to do something more interesting for the end of my video than folding towels, but laundry happens to be what's going on right now. I guess that's all I have to talk about today. Just wanted to share that part of my story. So for now, it is time for your next adventure. I'll miss you. Cheers. I don't know why I said cheers. I'm folding towels, and what are we gonna do? Like, take 2 washcloths and go cheers, and it'd be like a little